20 minutes after the hour of 2 o'clock right there on 92.9, the voice of Barbados. It's time for the program Health or Us. Let's say good afternoon to the doctor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I wish you and your family a happy and a prosperous and a healthy 2012, and of course that goes to all of Barbados.
And the same to you and to yours.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Today I want to concentrate, or focus, I should say, a little bit on cancer. It's a huge problem, and somebody's got to get out there and talk about it. I know I seem to be lumbered with these unpleasant tasks sometimes of bringing the public's attention to issues of health. So it's an education role here today. I've got a lot of stuff, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to get through, I'm hoping every single bit of this without biting my tongue or without certainly boring anyone. Cancer, it's a big issue. First of all, let's ask the question, what is cancer? Cancer is basically a generic term for a large group of diseases that can affect any part of the body. 20/80. 20% of what we're eating, sometimes less than 20, would be vegetables, a salad base, that sort of fare. And 80% is carbohydrate, meats, carbohydrates, rice, potato, whatever. And that leads to an acidic blood pH, which would ultimately set disease up in the body. Another and third, not necessarily third and final, but certainly, in my opinion, one of the most important factors in setting cancer up in the body and disease within our human system is this question of a weakened immune system. Now, anyone that did a little bit of physiology or biochemistry would understand the human immune system is king. We call it, we say key, but it is king. And this is why, and we stress this all the time, this is why chemo, radiation, and surgery is really a fool's option. Because these factors actually, these entities actually zap the human immune system and further depresses or suppresses the immune system, thereby setting the person up for failure. We can touch on that perhaps a little bit later. You may then ask, well, okay, what are the types of cancers? What are we talking about? Before we look at the numbers, because those numbers are going through the roof. Types of cancers, well, they're what we call the hormone-related type cancers, such as breast cancer, ovarian, and prostate cancer. Then, of course, we're very familiar with lung cancer, brought about not purely and singly through smoking, tobacco, etc. Then we're looking at digestive cancers, which are on the rise in a lot of developing nations because affluence is setting in, people are having a little bit more spending power, so to speak, and they're eating far much more meat than previous, and that is setting up a lot of colon and colorectal cancers, liver cancer, stomach and esophageal cancer. Those will be kind of digestive cancers if we had to summarize that. Then we look at hematologic cancers, the leukemias, the ALL, the AML, the CML, the CLL. We look at also lymphomas and multiple myeloma. These are all classed or grouped in what we call hematologic cancers. Then, of course, there's bone cancer and brain cancer. And just before I forget, let me give my contact details, folks wanting to reach me. Of course, this is Dr. Stan Odell, Health for Us Clinic, natural medicine doctor, and our number, of course, in the practice is 421-7167. That's 421-7167. You can also reach me by email at myhealthdoctor, and doctor is spelled out, of course, DOCTOR, at yahoo.com, and by Skype at myhealthdoctor. Okay. After the break, we'll come back and we'll take a look at some cancer statistics. So I think we need to come back and stay tuned to that. These figures are going to shock you. They certainly shock me. So up next, cancer statistics. Okay, cancer statistics. Now, according to the WHO, World Health Organization, 7.6 million persons worldwide died of cancer in 2008. And by the year 2030, that number will rise to more than 15.5 million. Now, there are over 10.9 million new cases. I wish there were thousands. 10.9 million new cases of cancer every single year worldwide. And there are over 24.6 million persons living presently with cancer. Now, after heart disease, cancer is the second leading cause of death worldwide. And talking about heart disease, you may remember that we did a fairly in-depth and intensive series of talks on heart disease and how we can avoid that, not just through avoiding stress and so on, but modifications of the diet. And we've made mention of a very, very powerful product that would help with that as well. And that information also can be had from Health for Us Clinic. Cancer detection options. What are we looking at? Well, allopathic medicine, of course, focuses on the MRI, the ultrasound, the CT scan, X-ray technology, and, of course, mammography. Now, it is clear that the standard treatment options of chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery, as I said before, are truly, honestly, a fool's option. And I'm quoting one of Barbados's leading general practitioners who, and this was an article found in the Nation newspaper, I think September last year, where it was said that the success rate, where he said the success rate for these strategies just mentioned, chemo, radiation, and surgery, are really about 3%, as opposed to over 90% with alternative natural medicine approaches or strategies. Naturopathic medicine, folks, focuses on early detection technologies such as the non-invasive zero radiation digital infrared thermal imaging. And if for a moment we look to compare mammography with thermography, I think you'll be, pleasantly surprised that here's an option that's FDA approved, and yet such little attention is paid to it. So let me paint this picture for you. Many years ago, in fact, for quite some time, the American Cancer Society, the National Cancer Institute, and other U.S. organizations have been promoting the use of mammography as a means of early detection for breast cancer specifically. Now, solid scientific evidence will now show that this is very far from the truth, and will provide you with the references and research findings to back up what is stated. Also presented, of course, we're going to show you that the FDA-approved all-natural, non-invasive digital infrared thermal imaging technique that offers true early detection of cancer and other inflammatory processes. The leading prestigious, in my opinion, the most prestigious medical journal on the planet, The Lancet, condemned mammography on several occasions. First reading of that I saw in a publication in 1992, then in 1995, and more recently in 2001. Mammograms causes cancer, and that was the subject, the title of an article that appeared in Natural News. And it basically said, to quote just one sentence here, is mammography an effective tool for detecting tumors? The question was asked. Some critics say no. In a Swedish study of over 60,000 women, 70% of the mammographically detected tumors weren't tumors at all. These false positives aren't just financial and emotional strains. They may also lead to many, it states, unnecessary and invasive biopsies. In fact, 70 to 80% of all positive mammograms do not, let me repeat that, do not, upon biopsy, show any presence of cancer. And then there was a further article which says mammography poses a wide range of risks of which women worldwide still remain uninformed. These dangers include radiation risk, cancer risk from breast compression, and delays in diagnostic mammography. Factors of unreliability would include false positives as well as false negative mammograms and other diagnostic and overdiagnosis. Now, there's a brilliant guy by the name of John Goffman, and he wrote in an article, this guy is a medical doctor as well as a nuclear physicist, and his conclusion was that mammograms certainly causes cancer. Categorically, flat out said, mammograms causes cancer. Now, digital infrared thermal imaging, the safe alternative. Here is a state-of-the-art technology that is FDA approved, and as I said, totally non-invasive. Simply means the practitioner doesn't touch you, the machine doesn't touch you, there are no dangerous rays of any description to zap your body. It is good for all ages. Even a pregnant lady can have this done, even a newborn baby. The beauty about thermography as opposed to mammography looks at what we call physiologic changes rather than waiting for a lump, what we call an anatomical change to appear. Now that right there's the key. Mammography waits, as I said, for detection of a lump or tumor, whereas DITI looks for the inflammatory process. We could go on and on a little bit more on the folly of following those old strategies of mammography and other invasive strategies for attempting to detect cancer, but I think my point is made. If we take a look at some of the real solutions for the prevention of cancer, and we're leading into the main issue, which is this fantastic product, which we want to get into. But the strategies I would like to suggest should and would include, if you're looking at the prevention of cancers, first and foremost, cleansing and detoxification. A lot of Barbadians and a lot of folks within the Caribbean, for one reason or another, whether they're dysfunctional families or they're just not wanting to pay attention to what was done years and years ago, are avoiding or are not having on a fairly regular basis any cleansing and detoxification of the human system. I had a call today from a person wanting to bring a child into me. The child, the gentleman said, the father said, was 4 years of age. And this child of 4 years of age has severe constipation for days on end. Do not go to number 2. Now, that's a recipe for disaster. Okay? So I asked the father, well, do you remember castor oil? Do you remember Cenopods? What about Epsom salts? I mean, yes, he said yes. Well, why weren't you giving your child even a minute quantity, a minute dose of this? Oh, I don't want to see the child cry. I mean, what stupidity. Pardon me, folks. I can't help myself here. What nonsense. Who is ruling? Who is in charge of this family? A 4-year-old or you that should know better? And what nonsense I'm also hearing that castor oil is not good to you. We grew up taking castor oil. I have patients telling me that persons are telling